Muslims, the believing slaves, mention Allah during what? Ayyamin ma'lumat, well-known days. And also to thank Allah ala ma razaqahum min bahimat al-an'am, for the food that He has given them of the animals that are to be sacrificed. Everybody got that? There are many issues here with regards to this verse. As we previously explained, many of them said that there are the 10 days of Dhul-Hijjah. Some of the ulama, they say that a man should make this dhikr out loud and a woman should do it silently. Just like the talbiyah. When you make talbiyah, Allah, labbaik, Allahumma labbaik, should you say it out loud? There's one issue. If you say it out loud, men and women are just men. Issue number 2. Issue number 3, is it permissible? Or is it from the sunnah to make this dhikr or this talbiyah together in sync? Labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik. Is that permissible? Is that from the sunnah? Or should a person say it, and if it coincides with the next man, alhamdulillah, but not intentionally? That's an issue of has to be pondered upon. We don't have time to get into that right now. And in general, there are 2 types of dhikr, brothers and sisters. 2 types. The first is that which is called a takbir al-mutlaq. Absolute takbir. A takbir al-mutlaq. Absolute takbir. And the second is called a takbir al-muqayyad. Restricted takbir. In other words, takbir that is done in a specific time, place, or manner. The first type, the absolute takbir, is the takbir that is done anytime from the beginning of the month to the end of the days of tashriq. From the beginning of the month to the end of the days of what? Tashriq. And the restricted or specific type of takbir is that which takes place after the daily prayers, Abu Sa'id. Some ulama say, Abu Sa'id, that the latest a person should make the restricted takbir is after the Asr prayer on the 13th day of Dhul-Hijjah. Salat al-Asr on the 13th day of Dhul-Hijjah is the end of the restricted takbir. The end. Start, beginning of Dhul-Hijjah. Moving on. Now, in this part of the class, we want to avoid technicalities as much as possible. And bi'idhnillah azza wa jal, perhaps tomorrow, we will speak on some more detailed issues of the takbir, and also the detailed issues of the Udhiyah, the actual fiqh of the Udhiyah. And perhaps, and Allah knows best, it would be nice if we had the opportunity to go to the slaughterhouse together. If it's possible. Get into a van, or a couple brothers take some cars, and we all go to the Udhiyah together and do it in congregation. Or we can have hands-on teaching. Even if it isn't the actual day of Eid. It could be the next day, or whatever. Everybody clear on this? Bi'idhnillah. Allah knows best. Perhaps Allah will make things easy for us all. Right? Moving on. There are 3 ways or 3 different types or styles of making the takbir. The first one is Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar kabira. The second is Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Wallahu Akbar, wa lillahi alhamd. Third is Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Wallahu Akbar, wa lillahi alhamd. 3 main styles of this takbir, whether it's absolute or whether it is after the restricted, after the salawat. Moving on, last but not least, as something that we explained in detail already, is the general virtue of performing good deeds during the days. However, a very good deed that many people abandon and don't pay attention to is making peace between people. Making islah, getting rid of the grudges and the beefs and the gripes that you have between you and your brother, or between two brothers that you know of. Trying your best to make what? Islah. If there's an argument you're having with your brother, a debate you're having with your brother, if a husband and a wife are going through some trials, some discord, he's not talking to her, she's not talking to him, this and that, they should try their best to solve the problem, at least even if it's to ignore the problem, during these 10 days. And there lies no doubt, a person who's lacking, who falls short, he shouldn't necessarily say, well, I don't front, you're front, you don't do this, or I don't like you like that. Everything's not cool. It's not about fronting, but it's about ta'zeemul waqt. Is what? Respecting the time. Respecting the what? Respecting the time. Just like Ramadan. You normally smoke, you normally do this, you normally do that. You're addicted to the cigarettes. In most cases, it's very hard for you to stop, but at least show some respect to the what? The time of Ramadan. At least show some respect. And it's not necessarily considered to be what? Fronting. Doesn't mean that. If you enter my house, you're my guest. I'm normally a sloppy person, and I clean up and I try to make things nice for you. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing and I'm putting on a show. But you're an esteemed guest. I can't have you come see my socks, and my shirt and my underwear and stuff everywhere, a book there, a tea thing there. Even if that's my normal practice. But at least show some respect to your guests. Everybody understand this? There's a fine balance that many people misunderstand. It does not mean that you're showing off for the person. Doesn't mean that. Rather, the fact that you feel a need to change or hide or do something during those days shows that you still have life in your heart. And there's still good in your soul. And perhaps you being forced to do that is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because you don't have to entertain that person as a guest. Don't come over my house, period. But the moment I want you to come, and I allow you to come, and I clean up and move the stuff out of the way, perhaps me being forced to clean up is a good thing. And we know that self-improvement doesn't always come easily. It doesn't come on the convenient terms that you want all of the time. Sometimes you're forced to improve yourself. Like in a class, you're forced to step up and improve your reading. Because now you're put on the spot. Give the khutbah. The brother said, do you do khutbahs and things? What was that? Last week? The week before. We went to New Jersey. They asked him. He wanted his card. He said, do you do khutbahs too? Perhaps him being forced to do the khutbah, I'm not qualified. I'm not the person for the khutbah. Perhaps him being forced would be a means of him forcing himself to do what? No doubt. And we've explained this many times to many hadith disciples. The importance of giving da'wah, the importance of teaching, the importance of stepping up. And if you feel that you're not qualified, if you feel that you're not the person for the job, perhaps you getting pushed up and thrown into the position will make you step up. Everybody got this? Everybody clear on this? Very important. First time I gave a khutbah, it wasn't about my choice. My teacher, my mentor, my master, he said, you have to do khutbah this week. What was I say? No, as many people would do today. Oh no, mufti, I don't know, make a million excuses to disobey the teacher. Lead the salah. No. Come with me, go overseas. Lakin. It's a big problem. The first time I translated for a speaker from overseas, one of the mashaykh from overseas, I didn't have an option. The translator wasn't feeling well. I was 18 years old. He said, Mufti, you're up. Just like that. There's no option. You ever play baseball, Muhammad? You know you have a bullpen. Now, different pitchers that don't start off. They may be finishers or closers or on the bench. You have on your jacket or your basketball, you have your sweatsuits. The star player, he broke his ankle. The next player, he's hurt. He's fouled out. It's the fourth quarter now. You're in the game. Bismillah. Shows what you're made of. You want to spot on the starting lineup? There you go. And if you're going to start lineup, just the fact that you have experience in a major game, in a playoff game, it's good for your resume. Everybody understand this? We've explained this many times, the importance of sometimes being forced to step up. Because the soul is naturally lazy. The soul is naturally it's lazy, lethargic. Shaitan doesn't want you to do good. So sometimes when you're forced and when you're pushed, it's best for you. It's a blessing in what? In disguise. Allah Ta'ala. We don't spend too much time on that. The seventh point is, or the seventh thing that you should do and busy yourself in or with is the Udhiyah. And we'll speak about that in detail. And then is the actual Salat al-Eid. We'll speak about that in detail. And whether that we've done several classes on this in the past, on the Eid prayer and the ahkam of the Eid prayer. So we'll stop here from these things that I have put together or prepared for you. Bidnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Tomorrow's class we will continue on the Udhiyah. Bidnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't want to take any questions on this topic. If there are any other questions not pertaining to this topic, we'll take them now. And if not, the adhan is now. Abu Naila, what time is the adhan?
Yeah. One question. Yeah. Two questions.
4 minutes. 4 minutes. Yeah, 4 minutes, your Sheikh. Problem.
Number one, question about mask. If there's a mask, this is
Right, next question.
And the next question is it permissible to eat in the mosque or in the musalla?
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. First question says, is this a mosque or a musalla? Or is this considered a masjid or a musalla? Or is it a jami' or a musalla? We say yes and no. Yes and no. It is a masjid from the aspect that there are 5 daily prayers established. There is Jumu'ah. Muslims run it and maintain it. It is a house in which Allah's name is mentioned. It is a house, most importantly, in which there is sujood. And the masjid linguistically means makanu sujood, a place in which you make sujood. So from that aspect, it's a masjid. From another aspect, one may say it isn't a masjid. One may say this, that it is a place that could be shut down. It is a place that could be temporarily closed. It is a place perhaps that wasn't given as waqf, as an endowment for the Muslims as a whole. And somebody may argue that. And they may say just because the masjid is owned or managed by a group of brothers or a brother or whatever, it doesn't mean that it wasn't given as a gift to the Muslims. Everybody clear on this? So there are some conditions that some of the people of knowledge have placed on a place being a masjid. And some ulama, they may say that a musalla, the difference between a musalla and a masjid is a masjid has Jumu'ah and a musalla doesn't. Some may say a masjid has 5 daily prayers established and the musalla is whenever the people are there, whether it's at work, on the road, on an airplane, etc. You ride or you fly to Saudi Arabia, if you take Qatar Airways or UAE Airways or whatever, but if you ride on Saudi Arabian Airlines, there's a small place for prayer on the plane. There isn't a flight that I know of that's long enough in which you're going to pray all 5 prayers on that plane. You may make Maghrib and Isha, Dhuhr and Asr, or maybe just Fajr, depending on the time when you fly, and also depending on the time zones. And they schedule it around those time zones. So therefore, that is a musalla. Everybody clear on this? So therefore, even if it is a musalla or it isn't, some of the people of knowledge, they say that the musallas in Western countries, or countries in which Muslims are the minority, or countries in which the masjids are not completely owned, they're rented, or countries in which it's owned by a person that wasn't given as a waqf. We'll study that and do it over here. What is a waqf? What does waqf mean? Even among kuffar, they have endowment. Okay? That will come in detail. We say that some of the people knowledge, they say, even if a place is not considered a masjid technically, it takes the rulings of the masjid, with buying and selling, so on and so forth. As for eating in the masjid, is it permissible? Then we say the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ proves that it is permissible for a person to eat in the masjid, or even the musalla. From the dalil, or from the proofs and evidences which cite this, is Ashab al-Suffah, or men who lived in the Prophet's masjid. They were poor, indigent, didn't have homes, they didn't have a lot, tattered clothes, and they ate and slept in the masjid. The Prophet ﷺ, he told Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu to drink the milk. And we all know the concept of milk in Islam. The virtue of milk, the hardiness and wholesomeness of milk, and some hadith that speak about milk. The hadith where the Prophet ﷺ was given a cup to drink, and he saw the milk pouring from his fingertips. The hadith that speak about the Prophet ﷺ asking Allah to give us more of ta'am, and how milk could possibly take the place of ta'am, food. Many hadith about milk. We're not going to get into right now. Right? He told Abu Hurairah to drink it. Abu Hurairah, he drank the milk, and the Prophet says, drink more. He drank more. Until the point when Abu Hurairah's belly became swollen. And he says, there's no place. Hatta ma ajidu lahu maslaka. He says, I have no room in my belly, I'm full. The Prophet said, Ishrab, he said, drink the milk. This authentic hadith, which is collected in the Sahih, proves that it's permissible to drink milk in the masjid. We just explained to you that sometimes milk can take the place of food. So this is a clear dalil, authentic Sahih hadith, that there was eating and drinking in the masjid. Everybody clear on this? And the hadith also proves the permissibility of eating to your right. Now, moving on. Hadith of the girl or the woman who had a tent in the masjid, who accepted Islam, and she was a slave, and she lived in the masjid, and Aisha radiallahu anha would sit and talk with her about how she accepted Islam, and so on and so forth. There lies no doubt she lived in the masjid. And there are many other hadith that prove the permissibility of eating, sleeping, and doing other things in the masjid. However, the masjid should not be taken as a place of constant eating, and cleanliness is rejected and ignored, in which the people only come to eat. Disregard the rulings of the masjid, the virtue of the masjid, and the respect of the masjid. People don't clean up after themselves. And we're not talking about this is over here. No, we're talking about grease, dirt, flies, ants, roaches, rats, and mice in the masjid, because people are leaving food all over the place. The masjid has to be prevented from becoming like this. That's one thing. As for a person respectfully sat down and ate a meal, Bismillah, iftar, i'tikaf, aqiqah, walima, no less. There's no hadith that goes against that, stating that you cannot do it. That is authentic. Everybody clear on this? But there is a what? There's a balance. Now, one last thing. The concept of masjid is also in the same circle of the word or the term what? Center. We have center and then we have masjid. And there are many places in America in which you have a masjid, and that's it. It's one main room, a bathroom, a wudu station, a sister side which is up the steps, or in the basement, and some masjids even in the back, with or without a curtain. Everybody clear with this? And we say, we say what? And there's some masjids in which, or some places in which there's a center. There's an office, there's a gymnasium, there's a community hall, there's a luncheon, dinner hall, or many masjids here in New York City, while many of our brothers from Guyana and Trinidad, from the Caribbean, they have the little tent. They have the what? The tent on the side of the masjid, in which they eat the iftar. I've been to several masjids in Queens, in which they had a tent outside of the masjid. Everybody clear with this? And the main part of the center is called the musalla. So it's interchangeable. Because let's say they bought the building, or let's say the building was built from the ground up. And it was a waqf. They don't call the place where the people pray a what? They don't call it a masjid. They call it a salah. Because it's literally a place of. And don't eat in that place, yaqi. Don't eat in the musalla, they say. There are no, the lectures are done outside of the musalla. They're classes, but the lectures are aywa. Iftar, outside. Counseling, sitting with the imam in a different room, a different chamber. So therefore, we see that these terms sometimes can be tricky. So you have to be very careful. You have to be what? Very careful. Wallahu ta'ala. Any other questions before we stop? Well, alhamdulillah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows
Does
best.
somebody have like objection to like the food is smell or something? So in that case, still permissible or not?
Al-Muhim is that as long as the food isn't generally offensive, I mean, it's relative. You may think that the food smells bad, you think it smells delicious. I asked you, I said, hey, Sheikh, is the curry too spicy? He said, no, it's good. To you, it's bland. To me, it's burning my mouth on fire. So that's relative. If it's something that is clearly, outwardly funky, as we say, it just smells bad. Most of the people imagine, like, oh, what is that? That's one thing. As for something that's not necessarily your taste, you can't ban that from the masjid. But there lies no doubt there are some things which have a very, very strong smell, such as garlic, such as onion, okay, such as greasy foods that are eaten in abundance. You have fried fish in the masjid once it's cool, but you keep eating fried, greasy fish, fried chicken in the masjid every day, it gets a what? Smell. There's no doubt about this. So, yeah, imbalance. Me personally, if I saw the Muslim in the masjid and he was respectful, it was clean, I wouldn't tell him to get out. Especially in the fact that we don't have too many places that are our own. As we read in Nailul Awqab, what the ulama of Islam said about making announcements in the masjid. I don't think you read Abu Sayyid. We recorded it, perhaps we can upload it. We read the argument, you were also missing. We read the argument of what do the ulama say about, what do the ulama say, Is it permissible to make announcements in the masjid? It's very important. And we know the opinion of Abu Hanifa rahimahullah and other Maliki ulama, Muhammad ibn Maslama, they have the view that there are announcements that can be made in the masjid if they're not personal announcements. If a person announced something that's lost for himself, that's one thing. But we're talking about something for someone else, or for the Muslims as a whole. Today is a lecture, this, kada, the Eid, blah, 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 etc. Some of the ulama, not all of them, they said it's okay to be made in the masjid because the masjids are the places of meeting of the Muslims. And let's just stop and look at the depth of the fiqh of that man, rahimahullah. He lived in a time which the Muslims were in abundance. They had their own places. Not in 2015. Look in 2015, how many places the Muslims don't have centers? Muslims don't have things that they can call their own. And the only time you can have a mass announcement is on Jumu'ah. So if you took the view that you can't make no announcements, no voices can be raised in the masjid except for the adhan, that would be very difficult upon the people. So we spoke about that before. Wallahu ta'ala.